Chris Carter here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Today, we talk about the Steelers' win over the New York Giants, 26-18. Why it wasn't the prettiest win, but there were still some very good signs coming from it. All that here and more on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things in the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. That's at PrizePicks. More on them later. Steelers fans, it's a victory Tuesday as the Pittsburgh Steelers have taken down the New York Football Giants 26-18 at Acrisure Stadium, advancing the Steelers to 6-2 atop the AFC and technically because of tiebreakers, third in the entire AFC right now. Now, it doesn't matter because there's a lot of football to play, but still, it's a good place to be. And there's a lot of people out there that didn't think the Steelers would be there. Now, I know there's going to be people out there. They're saying it right now. They're saying it at the screens. Who cares? It's the Giants. They're going to try to diminish this win because the Giants aren't a good football team. And they're right. Giants aren't a good football team. But this was the game that everyone says, oh, the Steelers they're going to drop this one because they just had some really good wins and they can't stack wins. They might, this is going to be the Mike Tomlin trap game or whatever. But here's the thing. There were several things that didn't go the Steelers' way in this game. And they still found a win. You have the touchdown. They got erased. The touchdown, the opening drive of the game, drives beautiful. It's perfect, and it gets wrecked by a face mask by Broderick Jones. We're going to talk about him later. That touchdown gets erased. You have Van Jefferson missing his spot on a touchdown where if he just stays in the spot he's supposed to be in, Russell Wilson putting the ball there. That's another touchdown. You have Calvin Austin breaking over the very next play. Russell Wilson not seeing him. That could have been a touchdown. George Pickens get a perfect pass, perfect hands, and just misses the ground by a blade of grass with one of his foot, gets another foot down twice, and it's not a touchdown. You had all those things not go your way. You still found a way to score 26 points, and you still found a way to win this game. This was a game, Steelers fans. This was a game that last year and the year before, and maybe even the year before that, the Steelers wouldn't have won. And it's not because the Giants were some immaculate team. They made some really good plays. But because the Steelers didn't dominate with the style of ball that they've been dependent upon to win them their games the past 3 years, even going back to Ben Roethlisberger's final year. The defense didn't have a bad game last night at Acrisure Stadium, but they also weren't dominant. They allowed 18 points. That's not terrible. You should be able to win against 18 points, but let's face it, a lot of times they hadn't. In fact, this is the first time the Steelers have won without you have won this year while not allowing 15 points. But they let up a 45-yard rushing touchdown. They let up some third and longs, even though generally they were pretty good on third downs, holding the Giants to 5 of 15 there. But there's certainly things to clean up on both sides, offense and defense. And I think that's something that we're going to talk about. But we have to look at, when you look at all those things that worked against them, the missed touchdowns on offense, the lack of clean, dominant play on defense against an offense that was very suspect in the Giants, what got them over the hump? Well, it was big plays being made by guys and signs of progress from this team showing that they're ready to step up in different ways and become more of a complete team this year that doesn't just try to beat you in one way. Good teams find ways to find ways to win the way that they're supposed to find way to win. They have a script. They find a way to do it. Really good teams are consistently finding that script and enforcing that on opponents and winning that team. But great teams are the teams that are consistently doing that and then still finding other ways to beat you when their script is kind of knocked off course. And again, I'm not saying the Steelers are a great team, but this was an instance where I think a little bit of the script got knocked out of their hands and they kind of had to adjust. They needed a little bit more offense. They needed some big play on special teams again, and they got it done. Ladies and gentlemen, Calvin Austin had himself a night. This might be the Calvin Austin game that helps him kind of take a step up and start finding his place in this team more. He finished out with a punt return touchdown that was huge for the Steelers, the first touchdown of the game, and then the only other touchdown of the game for the Steelers, a 29-yard touchdown reception with a really well-run corner route and a perfect ball thrown by Russell Wilson. Great job by Calvin Austin. We're going to play his clip in a little bit because we talked to him, and I think he deserves a ton of credit for this game. Also, Russell Wilson, keeping the offense efficient. They have over 400 yards of offense for the second straight game. That hadn't happened since 2018 for the Steelers. If you remember, there was that giant stretch where under Matt Canada, the Steelers didn't have any 400-yard total offensive games, and here they are doing that. And again, it's not all on Russell Wilson. A lot of it's on Najee Harris. A lot of it's on on this guy, that guy. They're spreading the ball around, but that's the whole point of why they brought in Russell Wilson, because he was going to balance things out. Najee Harris ran for over 100 yards for the third straight time, which also hasn't happened in 3 straight games for a Steelers running back since 2018. That's another good sign. You had the defense on the flip side of things. When the defense ever started to buckle, if there was big questions, guess who came to the rescue? The guys that have come to the rescue for the past few years. TJ Watt and Alex Highsmiht coming in to save the day. Each get 2 sacks, crucial forced fumble and recovered fumble by TJ Watt in the red zone late in the game. 2 turnovers by this defense to close the game out. And you look at all the things the Steelers did on offense, a lot of it was keyed up by Russell Wilson doing what we said all offseason they brought him into Pittsburgh to do, and that was to hit the deep ball by forcing teams to have to honor it, or they were going to be hurting from it. And Russell Wilson did do that several times in this game, helping kind of back people off the line of scrimmage, give the running game more space to grow. Najee Harris finishing this game, 19 carries, 114 yards. Jaylen Warren also getting going, 9 carries, 46 yards. Ultimately, again, spreading the ball around, finding that balance. And even some of those Russell Wilson throws, so the ones that not just the deep one he had to George Pickens, which was a phenomenal throw in between 2 defenders on the sideline. If George Pickens just tiptoes the right way, it's a touchdown. Not just go routes, but also those back shoulder throws that you're seeing. The one he hit Van Jefferson for, which looked just like the one he hit George Pickens for. Now, when I'm covering the game and I'm talking about those, and I say that's a dime from Russell Wilson, and you know what I'm talking about, the back shoulder where it's kind of like, hey, the receiver's running deep down the field, and he kind of stops the defenders in man coverage, so he can't afford to look up and find the ball in time, but the ball's perfectly put on the back shoulder there. That's a play that Russell Wilson has done for over a decade now. It's something that we saw last week when he hit George Pickens. It's something, again, that he did this week when he hit Van Jefferson. It's something the Steelers have been working on in practice. It's not an accident. It's not an underthrow. It's intentional. It's what he does. Stop saying that is not, because you're misinformed. And in fact, here's Calvin Austin, when we talked to him in the Steelers locker room, talking about that chemistry that they've been building with Russell Wilson and how much practice they've been putting in before and after the Steelers practices to get those types of things right and to get that kind of timing. Here's Calvin Austin in the Steelers locker room after the winning over the Giants.
What does Russell Wilson do to get to connect with you guys so well on the deep ball? It seemed like he was really, once he got that going, you guys were able to do a lot more things.
Just a lot of reps during practice. He's always, like I said, he's always hunting for that big play. And so throughout the week in practice, he's watching film, getting us to, want us to run different routes after and during practice, just so he can get that confidence in us, and we have the confidence in him that when we run this route, we done already caught the ball, that route that week 8, 9, 10 times, and so when it comes to the game, it's just second nature.
There's times where you're running those deep balls and he's throwing it, it's like on the back shoulder, right at the like not over the top, but having to stop and at the right spot. What is that something that you guys practice? How do you guys practice doing that, or is that just that in game we're just making adjustments?
Just reps, with reps with Russ. We've gotten probably every type of ball, back shoulder, over the top, all that. We get a lot of reps in, we get probably more than extra, So in moments like this, though, this is where that's why you do it for moments like this, so it can pay off.
So right there, you hear Calvin Austin. That's the leadership I was talking about all summer that they needed from their quarterback, whether it's Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson doing that, setting the tone, getting that chemistry with the guys, and you're seeing it manifest. Van Jefferson had been a non-factor in the Steelers offense for the first 6 games of the season. And here he is. In the first game, he had a touchdown. In this game, I think it was a 36-yard reception, really solid play. He's showing, hey, he can be more than just a warm body on the field. He can make a play. And there were still other plays that could have been out there. Again, there was, Van Jefferson should have had a touchdown. He didn't play, great in this game, but he was still solid. He was a good receiving threat. George Pickens almost had 2 touchdowns in this game. And Russell Wilson emphasized that, like, hey, we were this close to getting so much more in this game, and they want to get so much more. I want to talk more about that because I think, again, that is the element of this Steelers team that's going to make it better than the last two Steelers teams that's been heavily dependent on defense and heavily dependent on just not turning the ball over on offense so that they can just eke out wins late. This could be the factor that makes the Steelers more of a real threat in the AFC, not just to win the AFC North, but maybe even a threat in the playoffs. We're going to talk more about that next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I got clips from Russell Wilson and Alex Highsmiht talking about specific things that they're doing on both sides of the ball that could be helping them long-term. Get it all here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you this show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook in America. Download FanDuel today. You can get it as an app on your phone. You can also go to FanDuel.com at all times to get all the odds, ends, and lines that you could want moving forward. And with next week being a bye week, here's your odds, ends, and lines for your AFC North matchups, as there are some key matchups for the Steelers to watch and maybe to look to see if the Steelers can get some more help. The Baltimore Ravens open as 9.5-point favorites at home against the Denver Broncos, who are 5-3, matched with the Ravens in record. Could the Broncos pull off an upset? If you think so, 9.5 points is a large place to cover. Also, Bengals 7.5-point favorites at home against the Raiders. The Raiders going to Cincinnati. Can the Bengals get back in the win column after losing to the Eagles? And then finally, the Chargers 2.5-point favorites on the road at the Cleveland Browns. All those odds, ends, and lines can be gotten at FanDuel. We'll be watching those matchups closely all week long and how those lines move on FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook in America. And today you can get started on FanDuel by getting just $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet or more today. That's $200 of free bets today to do customers when you bet just $5. Only on FanDuel.com. Just visit FanDuel.com to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. We continue our show here today after the Steelers on this Victory Tuesday podcast. The Steelers are 6-2 after their 26-18 win over the New York Giants. I want to talk more about this offense and how they're unlocking more and more under Russell Wilson. And really, I think it's more so Russell Wilson unlocking more and more of his teammates, especially with those deep balls that they've hit on. And now it's opening up other things on the offense, even if they only scored 1 TD in this game. I agree. They should have scored more. The red zone offense, not good. They needed to be better. But here's Russell Wilson. I want you to listen to him crediting his young teammates for being to work with him during the off hours and the progress that they're looking to make. Now, I clipped out, I can't talk, do all of the entire press conference on this show, but there's several points where Russell Wilson was like, we are this close, we are this close, we are this close. He keeps bringing up about how they just missed this, they just missed that. He is helping this offense figure out what it takes to get the details right, to get to the big picture, which is what they've needed all along at the quarterback position. Without further ado, here was Russell Wilson at the podium after the Steelers win over the Giants. Russ, the deep ball you hit to Van was very similar to the deep ball you hit to George last week, where it was just deep down, back shoulder. I talked to Calvin about it. He said that's something you guys work extra on after practice. What kind of work does it take to get that kind of precision for them to know where to slow down and for you to know where to put the ball?
Yeah, I think ball placement there, but I think its biggest thing is just those guys. You have confidence in Van, you have confidence in Calvin, you have confidence in George, you have confidence in Scotty. It's just like these guys are really putting the work in every day. I think the extra work, before practice, the extra work, after practice. We got tremendous football players. Guys just believe in the guys we got. We got some special guys, and their work ethic is really remarkable. What makes it fun, to be honest with you, to play quarterback here and to be around such tremendous, guys who love the game of football. Obviously, George is a tremendous football player, who he is, and what he brings to the table. Calvin, you guys got to see, who he is, what he means to this football team, the star that he is going to be, and he already is. It's in him. He's just the punt return that he had, the touchdown. I mean, these are things that are special plays. Van Jefferson. I mean, he's a guy that I remember watching him back in his college days and watching his college highlights and everything else. And then obviously he went to the Rams, and I had to watch him make plays over there. But just to have him on our team, it's just his family means the world to me too. Just watching his work ethic every day. It just makes the game fun when you get to be around great guys. The huddle's great. I mean, just the guys are believers, working our tails off every day. And the only thing that you can control is your work ethic. You really get to control that part of it, and then it shows up in the game. And when you're able to make plays like that, it's not a surprise that hard work pays off.
Well, a couple more. You guys have a lot of younger guys on rookie deals on the offense. What kind of stuff are you saying to them to check in on them as a veteran when frustrating moments like that do happen early in the game? You guys are this close to getting a touchdown.
I think the thing is that these are all great, just learning experiences, man. You can't waver, And I think I always use the boxing analogy, but when you're in a heavyweight fight, you got to be able to respond. You got to be able to keep your chin up and keep going. And it takes 1, 2, 3 hits sometimes. And I think that's the thing about us is that we got great belief, we got unwavering faith in one another. I think our practice habits have been really exceptional. We got to continue to grow on that every day. We've done a really good job of that. And we got to press in. We got to continue to press in. There's more touchdowns out there. There's more plays. There's more things. And we'll do that, And I think the best thing about it is learning from what we've done really well so far, learning what we can get better at, but also understanding that it's a process. It's you want to be able to rise as you go, and I think we're on that journey right now. We're on that train of just continue to grow, and I think that's an exciting thing for this football team and what we're doing, how we're doing it. I'm really proud of just Ryan stepping in and playing center, over the past couple of weeks. That's a big deal to be able to have guys be able to step in, be as confident as he's been, to be the leader, to be a great sounding voice for the O-line. Just proud of the guys being all connected as one. And when you got guys like that are tough, got grit to them, got knowledge of the game, work at it every day, love it, love each other, anything's possible.
This is the kind of leadership the Steelers have needed in their offense for the past few years. Ben Roethlisberger had a level of leadership. Since he's been gone, they've been lacking that. And listen, it's not just what he's saying at the podium. I'm not saying, they needed guys to make speeches at podiums. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the demeanor that he has, the detail he brings in his work and challenges others to bring to their work. And because he's so good and he has that reputation, it gets guys are like, hey, yeah, we got to get with him. We got to make sure we run these right routes. We got to make sure we have this chemistry with him because we want to connect on these deep balls. And then you see it permeate into so many other situations when you look at when they look at this offense and how things played out in this game and how they continue to play out, and I think how the Steelers can move forward. Things weren't perfect in this game. There were plenty of things that went wrong. There was pressure coming from different sides. There were missed blocks. There were catches that were missed. There were routes that were run incorrectly. But the Steelers found a way to stay focused without letting it bog them down. And Wilson also made his fair share of mistakes. He missed Calvin Austin on a touchdown, the play after Van Jefferson kind of ran the wrong way on his route. Then he also fumbled in the fourth quarter, and that was in a situation where the defense just gave up a touchdown, and now they're only up 8 points, and you're sitting there like, oh man, is this the way the Steelers lose this game? This is the Giants. They have a chance to take over. But like I said, this is not last year's team. The Steelers' offense had given them enough of a lead, and special teams as well. But the Steelers had enough of a lead where the defense could say, hey, we can rebound from giving up one bad touchdown drive, and we can hold it down right here. The defense responded to Wilson's turnover with back-to-back turnovers of their own to close the game out, and we'll get to the defense more in a bit. But like Calvin, but you look at all the different things the Steelers did in this game to overcome the defense not being dominant, just being decent, just being good, which is, again, you go back to the last few years, the Steelers needed the defense to be elite to win those 9-10 games sometimes, to get over the hump at the end of the season. If the defense wasn't elite, they were toast. They wouldn't be able to hold on to because the offense couldn't possess the ball long enough. For example, in this game, with the defense and the struggles that they had, if this was the offense last year in a lot of their bad games, they would have had to be on the field probably 20 more snaps. And then you know what? They probably do give up some more touchdowns in this game, and they probably lose. But Russell Wilson managing the offense, doing a solid job. You're balancing things out. Calvin Austin stepping up in a big way. Russell Wilson staying locked in. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren running the ball hard. The offensive line having mistakes, but still creating enough space for all those things to happen. That allowed for the defense to say, hey, we can do just enough in this game. We haven't had our best game. We haven't played the greatest, but we can still be a good defense and come up with 2 fourth-quarter turnovers that flip the game on its head. Watt and Highsmiht did that. They were an example of making sure that this game would not slip through your fingers. They were able to close things out. Beanie Bishop getting a turnover at the end of the game. I am confident this Steelers team is headed in the right direction. Is this the signature win? Absolutely not. But winning games like this, where there were just so many little things where I'm like, man, I'm telling you, if this was, the Kenny Pickett team last year, or when Mitch Trubisky was leading it, I think even if this was Mason Rudolph led team last year, I think this is a game where they would have slipped through their fingers. Everybody wondering, oh man, how did they blow this opportunity to pick up a game on the Ravens? You think back to those Cardinals and those Patriots losses last year and the Colts losses, how those slipped through their fingers. I think that this was a game that they avoided that, and it was because of the team effort and Russell Wilson playing a big part of that team effort and bringing everyone together. Look at the joy on the sidelines that the Steelers had. You see the picture of him, Russell Wilson on the bench with Justin Fields, and the energy that they have between each other. Justin Fields, who just got benched a week ago, and is saying like, man, like that guy scored 10 touchdowns, only threw 1 interception, and he's having to sit for Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson's this guy, he's this old, like, what is he doing here? He's washed, he's this, he's that, and they're vibing on the sidelines. They're enjoying each other's company. That kind of stuff, that kind of culture is the reset. We talked about being a big part of what this team needed on offense, not just on the field, but also off it, to help it fix what the problems had been in the past couple of years. So don't look now, but don't look now. Don't look now. All of a sudden, the Steelers, they rank 15th in scoring. And yes, that's not overly dominant, but what did we say? All offseason, you just wanted this offense to get to the middle part of the NFL so that it could work in concert with its defense, so it can win games just like this one. They now average 23.4 points per game. That is 0.1 points per game behind the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud, who are a team that some people are looking at as Super Bowl favorites and serious AFC contenders this upcoming season. Again, the Steelers, they're moving in the right direction, y'all, and they still have a lot to clean up on both sides of the ball. We're going to get to defense in a bit because they didn't have a clean game, but they certainly made a lot of big plays, especially those edge rushers. We're going to talk about something that they're specifically doing with those edge rushers that I think is really interesting and could lead to some really great stuff there. But again, I think this is the balance the Steelers have been looking to get, that decent to good offense at times that can pair with a great defense. But when we come back, we're going to focus on that defense because they had things to clean up, but they also had things that were inspiring. We'll talk about that more here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I remind you this show is also brought to you by Hillsdale College. Hillsdale College is the place that you can go to further your education, and it's where education is a precious commodity. So Hillsdale College offers 40 free online courses. You get Constitution 101, Intro to Free Market Economics. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start wherever, tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper on readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. Hillsdale.edu/lockedon. We're also brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling against thousands of other players who are picking new lineups every single week that you have to beat, all you have to do to win money on Prize Picks is pick 2 to 6 players, look at their stack projections, and just guess more or less. And if you're correct on those players, you can watch your winnings roll in. Prize Picks is the fun new daily fantasy game that everyone needs to start playing right now. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy game that allows injury insurance, where your lineups can stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return in the second, Prize Picks keeps your lineup alive. And now on Prize Picks, you can win up to 100 times your money with as little as making 4 correct correct picks. PrizePicks uses NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, college sports, and so much more. Download the PrizePicks app today or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code LockedOnNFL and you'll get $50 off instantly when you play just $5. That's LockedOnNFL to receive a $50 bonus for just playing $5. PrizePicks. Run your game. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. We continue our discussion here on the Steelers' 26-18 win over the New York Giants. And we've talked a lot about the offense, a little about the defense. This last section is going to be about the defense. So it was not a great showing. They allowed 394 yards of offense. Wasn't clean. They did do some good things. They held the Giants to being 5 of 15 on third downs. But some of those plays they gave up were still a bad sign. They gave up some long passes. They gave up 3rd and 16. That was really bad. It led to a scoring drive. The only touchdown that they allowed the entire game, and they allowed 157 rushing yards. A big chunk of those being a 45-yard rushing touchdown that kept the Giants alive. The Steelers get a stop on that drive. This game probably goes away, and it's a laugher, and it's a different tone coming out of this game. However, I still think that this defense trends upwards and can end up being an elite defense by the end of the year. But hey, guys stepped up when things weren't going right. And I still haven't gotten a chance to look over the All-22. I was in the press box all night, so as you can see, I'm still in my suit. I was going back over and trying to and try to look things. I'm going to look over things to see what happened in the run game specifically. It looked like the Giants were catching the Steelers off guard with some things, and we'll have Alex Highsmiht explain his perspective on what the Giants were doing at different points. But when things aren't working across the board, when you're having issues in certain areas, like the D-line isn't getting it done and the run game is working against you, you need players to step up and make big plays, and that's exactly what TJ Watt and Alex Highsmiht did. They turned into Superman and Batman, and they helped the Steelers keep their lead. It should also be noted, they did something very unique in this game that I tweeted about, and if you were following my Twitter account, I also asked Alex Highsmiht about it. You'll get it here in a second when I play this clip. They were flipping sides between Alex Highsmiht and TJ Watt. And if you've studied the Steelers and you know the Steelers, that is something they have never done. TJ Watt, when he came into the league, he wanted to be on the right side. They put him on the left or up against the left tackle. They put him on that side. And initially he's like, no, I want to be up on the side that I'm used to. That I got used to playing at Wisconsin. They moved him over the right tackle, and that's just where he found a home, and he stayed there the entire time. Alex Highsmiht took the other side. There were no problems. TJ goes on to be a defensive player of the year, setting world pace records, and it's worked. But now we're seeing more and more teams are throwing everything at TJ Watt's side. They're throwing tight ends, running backs, everything to triple team him, to quadruple team him, whatever they can do. They're doing everything to slow him down. So the Steelers, this seems to be an acknowledgement. Hey, we got to move him around to free him up because he's a playmaker, and we can't just trust that he's going to beat 3 people every time. We need to get him that. And so they started flipping Alex Highsmiht and TJ Watt around. And it wasn't like they came out and they did it well before the play. They would wait to see, hey, where are they lining up? Where the Giants lining up? Oh, the tight ends on that side, Alex is going that way. DJ, you're going on this side where it's just one offensive tackle and you get one-on-one with that guy. And I think that was something really interesting. And they would do it just to mess with the Giants. And you could tell it kind of messed with the Giants. And there was a delay of game at one point where they switched it, and you saw them kind of be like, wait a minute, what? They haven't done that before. And it took them a second to lock in. And I think that helped with some of the big plays that they made in the game. Again, I said we talked to Alex Highsmiht after the game. Here's a clip of Alex Highsmiht. I asked him a couple questions. First, he talked about how the defense had to lock in and be resilient, about them needing to start better, what they needed to be better at more in detail, and what the Giants did that kind of caught them off guard at times, but also him talking about their plan and how they are trying to flip him and Watt around in the edge rushing, and where they line up as edge rushers. But here's Alex Highsmiht after the Steelers win.
What's it say about your guys' defense to be able to, you do give up 390-ish yards of offense, but 2 fourth-quarter turnovers to close out the game and to seal the win, to be able to still find answers even while the Giants are making plays?
Yeah, it just shows that we're resilient. I think we just got to start better because we've had a trend this year of starting slow and then really picking it up in the second half. And so we just got to play more consistent throughout the game and just be more detailed. I think it's a lot of stuff we're hurting ourselves. We go back and watch the film, we analyze it before we head out. So, we just got to really really just be more detailed and have a certain level of detail that it takes to be a winning team. So just got to lock in on little things, but just getting the win was huge.
One of the things they were able to needle you guys with, it seemed like they got some screen passes and some runs off that just caught you guys off guard.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of knew going to the game that they were probably going to do a lot of screens to quell our rush and our pressure, and they did that, and they were effective doing that. And so like I said, it was only 9 points in the first half, but it felt like worse just because it was long play, it was long drives and stuff. And so we just got to, like I said, lock in on details and just get better in that way. And I think we did a good job making adjustments. There's just little things that we got to get better at. We definitely locked down on that run game as well. It wasn't our best defense in that way tonight. So, like I said, just going to this bye week, we just got to get better. When we come back and really go into the home stretch of the season, we just got to get better, and set ourselves up to go to the Super Bowl, have a game here. And so, but it was just awesome getting this win before the bye week.
Alex, I noticed you guys were flipping you and TJ a little bit more this game. It seemed like you guys were trying to isolate TJ more whenever they put a strong side one side, he went the other. Is that something new that you guys are trying out a little bit more because of the attention that TJ is getting?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying it out. Just get some of those shits off of TJ, but I think we just both got to work on our rushes from the other side and doing that. And so, but I think it was effective because it threw them off a little bit. So it's something we just got to keep working on.
So, one, I think it's a good thing that they're working on that, because that is something that can be advantageous to the Steelers, and I think it's something that's going to take time. And hey, let's adjust to it. Let's figure out how we can win in these ways. I think that'll come. But again, Alex Highsmiht pointing out, I do think that there are some things they need to clean up, especially in the run game. They need to go back over film, and they need to say, hey, they need to clean up this on these short passes, on these intermediate passes, on these miscommunication plays where obviously, there were some soft spots in their zone, and there were times they got beaten man in the wrong ways. As a whole, the defense does have things to clean up, but in the middle of them needing to clean up these things, they are still the second best scoring defense in the NFL right now, allowing 14.9 points per game. We've seen games this year where the Steelers defense dominated and where they could win it by themselves, where go back to the Falcons game. They didn't get a single touchdown from the offense. It didn't matter. They were going to go find a way to win. And as we're seeing this offense grow, we're seeing it give the defense more space to figure things out when they're still putting things together. And let's face it, this is a young offense for the most part. The defense has had a lot of new faces this year. Beanie Bishop, who just had his third interception in 2 games, is a factor into that. Patrick Queen is a new player on the team, not a young face, but a new player. Peyton Wilson's playing a lot of snaps. Keno Benton is playing into a lot of snaps. Joey Porter Jr., I don't think had particularly his best game in this one. And I want to go back over the film just to verify that, but I thought he got beat in some situations that he shouldn't have. All in all, this defense still has places to go to be a more dominant defense, and we've seen where it can be. But again, when you have young players on both sides of the ball and they're all starting to figure things out together, if they start to collectively lock in and play complementary football, which means making big plays on offense and following up big plays on defense and vice versa, those are the things that could make the Steelers a true force to be reckoned with, not just to win the AFC North, but to be a serious contender in the AFC. And despite them not putting this Giants team away, I think that there are details in their game that show that there is a legitimate path for them to get there. We'll continue to analyze that as the week goes on. It's the bye week coming up here, so we're going to get a chance to kind of look over some film. Next week I'll do some Actually, this week I'll try to do some midterm grades, stacking things up. But we still got to do our stars and skulls. Hopefully, I'm able to get to the all 22 later today. Your boy's going to try to take a nap before he gets back into the rest of his work. But we will keep you up to date with all things here on the Steelers as they are 6-2 headed into the bye week, first place in the AFC North all by themselves. No matter what happens, they will be in first place in the AFC North coming out of their bye week, even if the Ravens win this week, as they will still be a half game back. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get grades. We'll get some film analysis. We'll hopefully be able to get maybe Alan Saunders on with us. We'll be able to talk about what's going on with the Steelers and how they're heading into their bye. And maybe after those grades, we'll start doing our midterm grades just to see how grades have stacked up in our stars and skulls grading rubric. Thanks again for tuning into the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. Read my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, post-gazette.com. Find me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday, breaking down your Pittsburgh Steelers. Hey, Steelers fans, Go enjoy that Victory Tuesday out there. We'll see you tomorrow right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.